Alrighty, so before I do the review for these midweek action, I want to do a video talk about a major thing that happened today in MLS, and this has been a thing that's been discussed for the past couple of months, and even Don Gabbard kind of mentioned this before that there was going to be some major changes in terms of the roster rule heading into the summer. And last, today is the day where we saw those roster rule being implemented, at least the new one that is, and there was three major ones that at least on the league website have mentioned are the major roster rules that have changes that will hope to help give a little bit more flexibility to these teams in terms of constructing their roster. So the first big roster rule changes is that all MLS team can uh have six prime roster spot on their roster. Now, what are these prime roster spot? Well, it's basically made up of two major things. It made up of DP player and also U22 initiative player. Now, obviously, if you have been watching this league for a very long time, you know exactly what the DP tag means. This is usually players that earn way much more money in terms of their salary compared to the rest of the team, and it's not going to count toward the salary cap. Now, what the U22 initiative is that it was introduced not long ago, and this was a huge thing in terms of the league really pushing for teams to sign a lot of good young talented player. And even though each player could take up a big amount of salary, with this U22 initiative rule being implemented, is that you can sign these players to these lucrative contract, and it will not count toward the as a DP spot or even count toward the salary cap as well. Just think of this as a young DP kind of signing as we've seen before MLS has implemented, and that again this is really helpful too because there are some teams that not only have just completely maxed out their DP slot, but now they can of course use these U22 initiative to sign players that before, if this U22 initiative uh spot and roster rule was implemented, there was no way they can of course sign these players because it will fall under the DP threshold. But now what this rule saying is that now teams are able to use up to those six prime roster spot, and there's a way where these teams will get some flexibility of how they of course will use their six prime roster spot, and that's where the second big change happened. So obviously, as I mentioned here on the board, the second big thing in terms of the roster rule changes that the league decided to do is the flexibility in terms of how teams can use these six prime roster spots. So in the beginning of every season now, clubs will have the opportunity to have exactly free DP and free U22 initiative to use as their six prime roster spot. Or what they can also do is that they can have two DP and up to four U22 initiative players. So basically, you can actually have more than free U22 initiative player if you want to do. Now, I didn't hear about them potentially saying that the teams can have up to five U22 initiative or just one DP, or they can use all their six prime roster spot and use it on U22 initiative. But the one thing that they did mention is that team can't have more than four DP. So for those of you that were kind of excited for a second of, well, so now we will have six prime roster spot, and not only that, but is there maybe a flexibility that teams can have four DP and two U22 initiative? No, unfortunately, that is not the case. And again, I think a part of this is because, like I said, the league is really pushing for teams and not only they have that flexibility to spend money to get players and get them on a lucrative deal without have to worry about the salary cap. But also they want to make sure a lot of these teams are signing you a lot of good young talent because the league have repeatedly said that they want to be a seller league and they want to deal out some of the best talent around the world and eventually sell them off for a huge amount of money. But unfortunately, another thing that a lot of people have been wanted to do to see this league do, which is going to a point where we eventually will have a fourth DP spot and not really hamstring a lot of these teams in terms of unable to sign a big name player because they just don't have any DP spot open whatsoever. But that, of course, is still not on the table just yet. I mean, it was on the table at least in the last off season, but not on the table even in this new roster rule updated. And then the last thing I think is a big roster rule that MLS have announced that they have changed is that there's now an opportunity for more allocation money from transfer that can convert into GAM. Now this is definitely a big talking point as well, and this is the thing that kind of frustrates a lot of teams where when they do sell them the players offer some money. Yes, these players of course will get some of the transfer and get the full transfer, but unfortunately, a lot of these teams wants to convert it into GAM so that they can use to sign players in trades and whatnot. And a lot of thing that's kind of frustrated for a lot of teams is that despite the fact that they can sell a player for like $20 million, but only like about 1.2 million of those can be converted into GAM, no matter how much you of course sell a player for. Well, now it's gone up to $3 million, and again, this is good news for a lot of these teams that have sold a lot of big name player somewhere else. I'm pretty sure Atlanta United fans and even the Atlanta United front office are definitely looking this and definitely they are doing a little happy dance. The fact that they finally see that they can not only convert a lot of their player sale into general allocation money, but they can do more of that with now being converted up to 3 mil and in terms of transfer. And again, it's good to see that of course it is the case, because if you're going to be a league that is really advertised in terms of being a selling league, not only the fact that you want to have these teams to reinvest in terms of the money that they have, but they should be have the opportunity to convert that money into GAM as well, to of course trade or use that as an asset to trade for players or even international spot in the near future to other teams. So this is a big change, of course, that they mention, and it's definitely one that can really benefit a lot of teams in terms of selling some good talent to somewhere else, and then they could use that money to convert into more GAM than it used to be. Because I think before $1.2 million was just not enough compared to what what we will now see with it being now up to $3 million. Now, one roster rule that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have also thought that it was going to happen is the second buyout. And notice I didn't mention that because it was reported that at the last minute it seems like they decided to not pass that second buyout. And apparently the reason why they said is because the union they've said that they are going to implement the second buyout. They're going to have to restructure the collective bargain agreement, and not to mention the union have also argued that this second contract buyout doesn't really kind of benefit them uh, in many ways. So eventually they decide not to have the second buyout, and we'll see whether or not down the line if that's going to be a possibility. But either way, let me know in the comments below. What do you think of these new roster rule? Obviously, there's definitely some benefit out of this. I mean, I know also some people will say that there probably should be more to be done, and I think there could be more to be done, especially with the way that the salary cap is going to once again increase next season. And not to mention, there is still a possibility where this is just the beginning in terms of the roster rule. And let's also not forget that with the way that the collective bargaining agreement, I think, is going to run to 2026. There's a chance where the player union and the owners can bring up some new things in terms of roster rule that can really benefit this league, and that of course include the fourth DP spot. And we might not just feature just six prime roster spot. That could always go up to 7 and 8, depending on whether or not if the league and the owners and even the union would agree on this in the near future. But one thing I will say is that this will really help a lot of teams that are very ambitious in terms of some of the signings that they have. But also at the time, you can say that there's a reason why right now I think the league, as much as that there's been many people have saying that they probably should have done more and should really expand the roster to a point where we could have maybe 4 or 5 DP, or maybe the DP tag should be removed all in place, is because the league is still kind of balancing in this category of they want to make the roster rule where they want to have the most ambitious team in the league to compete and able to sign good players that can really help them not only in the league play, but also when we go into the CONCACAF Champions Cup and other continental tournament. But at the same time, they also don't want to be so powerful. The fact that you have some teams that just have a complete monopoly and decided to be really ambitious in terms of signing, and then all these lesser teams are basically left behind the dust. And that again, there's this big discussion when it comes to roster rule between parity versus if you want to make the league more competitive and want to make some of the best team in the league competitive, not only in MLS but in the international stage as well. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and like I said, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.